Good morning, everyone. If everybody could please come on in and take your seats, we'll make a start. If I just open with just a couple of bits of housekeeping, just to keep us all right for what's going to be a very good and successful conference, I'm quite sure. Please keep mobile phones on silent. I think that's very important in respect for the speakers and contributors. Do tweet. You can see the hashtag Livestock2030, so please use that and tweet some of the fantastic things you're about to hear throughout the day. The exits are at the back of the room, the doors you've just come in, and facilities are out the door and down in the corner to the left. And finally, there are no fire drills due today, so if the alarm goes off, they really do mean it. So do leave as quickly and orderly as possible. So, good morning and welcome everyone to our second Science Outlook Conference here at AFBI. My name is Colin McKenna, Chairman of the AFBI Board, and I'm delighted to see such a strong turnout for this morning for what I know is going to be an extremely useful and informative conference. Our local agri-food industry faces a number of significant challenges at present. I and the AFBI Board are very clear that AFBI's role is to provide world-class science to support the industry and to inform government policy development to address these many challenges. However, AFBI, in common with other public sector bodies in Northern Ireland and across the UK, have seen significant budget reductions since our establishment 12 years ago in 2006. And one of the key strengths of this organisation is that we have the opportunity to secure funding from a wide range of sources, and we have been extremely successful. Whilst grant and aid from government has declined by over 30% in the last 10 years, we have been able to increase our external funding from 6 million in 2006 to 23 million in the current year. And this is a tribute to the fantastic scientists, the outstanding work that they've been able to do, and partner with industry and many other international and national funding bodies to the extent that external income now accounts for almost 40% of the total AFBI budget. And it's really with that sort of dedication that we've been able to provide the levels of support and excellence that we do. However, we also recognise that AFBI will need to continue to grow our external income in the future, and if we are to realise our very ambitious growth plans as an organisation. In this context, we're optimistic that the current DERA review of AFBI, which many in the room have been involved in, will result in increased operational freedom and the recognition that AFBI is increasingly operating in a truly commercial environment. So within the board, we acknowledge that undertaking excellent science is only part of the story. The real success is achieved whenever that's translated into farming and industry practice and into government policy. The examples of the AFBI research and work with our partners that we will see later today, presented alongside other world-leading research, truly demonstrates how our work has real relevance to the many of the current industry challenges. So, we have a packed programme today, and we've just got a couple of contributions at the start. At this stage, I'm delighted to introduce our first guest speaker of the morning, Barclay, the President of the Ulster Farmers Union. Barclay, I'm sure, is very well known to all of you, and in the interest of time, I will refer you to the biography in the conference packs. Barclay, over to you.
Thanks very much, Chair and delegates. Indeed, it is my privilege to help kick off the conference here today. And on behalf of the Ulster Farmers Union, can I say very well done to Sinclair Main and his team for organising this event. In our current climate of political uncertainty, as an industry, from primary producer to processor to retailer to researchers to the agri-supply sector and to our NGOs, we have a responsibility to take up the challenge of how we can ensure that we have an industry which is ready for change. While we may be confused by political uncertainty and the direction of travel, one thing is sure: changes and big changes are most definitely on their way for the agricultural sector. The exact timelines of that change may be still somewhat vague. Is it 2020? Is it 2022? Is it 2024? You can make up your own minds, but whichever year it is, there are none of them which are that far away. And this is not a time for looking over your shoulder. That is certainly not the direction of travel. As someone recently said to me, if we only look at the past or the present, we are more than likely to miss the future. But what will the family farm look like in 2030? And can we ensure that the family farm will survive in a global context? People often say, you know, the world has become a small place, and how right they are. And this will bring new challenges. Inevitably, we will see new trade deals. Our competitors may be coming from a very low cost base. Standards may differ, but we are going to have to compete in that global market, and we will have to accept that price volatility will be the norm. Will we need scale to survive, or can we thrive if we can produce what the consumer really wants in a sustainable manner? Will we still be trading in commodities, or will we have carved out high-value markets? We cannot afford just to do the same old thing, and this is something that we are very conscious of within the Ulster Farmers Union. We want this industry to progress, and we have been fully supportive in promoting animal health measures such as BVD eradication. We are fully engaged in trying to establish a genomics programme. Our Seeds and Cereals Committee have just recently agreed a new piece of research work on the use of organic manures, which should benefit both the arable and the livestock sector. And I am also very encouraged that after our recent dairy conference, that we now have a platform to look at the whole area of payment on milk solids. We have followed up that conference with AFBI, and early indications are that this could be worth $43.88 million to our dairy sector, or perhaps a more meaningful figure, about £12,500 per herd. So going forward, science, research and development are probably going to have an even more important role to play. And how appropriate today that we are looking at the whole area of shaping livestock farming for 2030. As science and technology move at a phenomenal pace, it is critical that we have properly resourced facilities in Northern Ireland to enable our researchers to get on with the work, and then, critically, that this information is disseminated to the industry. One of the main aims of any future agricultural policy will undoubtedly be increased productivity, and research and development will be an important driver to achieve this goal. However, as we go for growth, it will have to be achieved in a manner which enhances our environmental sustainability. And this will be a major challenge for the industry. And as we are currently experiencing around the whole issue of ammonia emissions, with a lack of relevant research and sound scientific evidence, let's have a plan to put in place, and our industry will respond. A partnership between the researcher, the regulator, those whose responsibility it is to transfer that knowledge, and the farming sector. This is not a new idea. We only have to look at the work of the Greenhouse Gas Implementation Partnership and how they have delivered. Every small step will have a cumulative effect in delivering that environmental sustainability and at the same time allowing this industry to grow. We as farmers are hungry for this knowledge and technology, but this can't happen if we don't have the science to support it. And as the Going for Growth document stated, we need to commission research into measurable best practice systems for sustainable intensification on farm. The groundwork is complete. We have a 130-page document from the expert working group on sustainable land management, delivering our future, valuing our soils. There is an opportunity here. We could become leaders in the field. While others may talk the talk, we can and must deliver on promoting our sustainability through hard, credible scientific evidence. However, while sustainable intensification are the current buzzwords, many other issues will help shape livestock farming through until 2030. Herd health and flock health have a major impact on farm profitability. As we talked to our members last year on future agricultural policy, one thing was coming through loud and clear, that perhaps some of the support measures should be geared towards farm animal health and welfare management plans. It seems to be the case, as we eradicate one production disease, there may well be another one just round the corner, which could be prevented. Yes, prevention is better than cure, and here again our farming industry wants to step up to this challenge. Farmers can also play a major role in ensuring the responsible use of antibiotics and other antimicrobials, but key to this is that we will require the guiding principles. So it isn't difficult to spot the common theme in all these areas of future livestock production. We must have science. Let's not leave our industry behind. Producers and processors left clutching at straws, many game-changing opportunities missed. But perhaps we need to take some encouragement from the announcement a couple of weeks ago by Business Secretary Greg Clark of the £90 million pot of money for an agri-tech revolution within the industrial strategy. More detail is required, but this may be a signal from government of a new spirit of innovation. And hopefully this information can be translated from the lab to the field and help us achieve our target of an efficient, productive and environmentally sustainable industry. But I have no doubt we are well placed here in Northern Ireland to drive this research on, provided that necessary funding is put in place. AFBI, the Institute for Global Food Security and of course Agri-Search have and will continue to deliver for the agri-food businesses here in Northern Ireland. There are a myriad of issues which will confront us in the years ahead. Maybe never mind throwing in into the mix a couple of more pressing issues. The Cheltenham Race Festival and the Grand Slam next Saturday. But just like Ireland, our livestock sector will have to be at the top of their game. And just like Cheltenham, we may fancy a wee flutter, but there will be winners and losers. Let us make sure we are all winners. The stakes are high. We will need all the tools available which science can provide to stay ahead of the game. I think we are all looking forward to an excellent conference today, and on behalf of the Ulster Farmers Union, may I once again reiterate, we are up for change. Our businesses cannot stagnate, they will need to grow. Provide us with the science, and we will play our part in developing farms fit for purpose and in helping to shape the livestock industry for 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barclay. I am about now to introduce Sinclair Main, and this is the second of our Outlook conference. This was commenced last year by Sinclair's foresight, and I think it is. Last year we had a tremendous conference. This year it's going to be bigger and better again, so something really to look forward to. Doing things slightly differently we're around the questions through the panels, so Sinclair's going to explain how all of that. But Sinclair Main, the Chief Executive of AFBI.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. And very welcome to our second Science Outlook conference. And really, I just want to put the conference in context in terms of some of the background, and particularly following on the very important and useful contribution from Barclay. really just to set the scene in terms of how we see AFBI science playing a major role in terms of supporting the local agri-food industry. Oops, wrong way. I thought I might do that. First of all, I think we're all very much aware that Northern Ireland has some of the most productive and dynamic farming businesses in the world, and I think that's been widely recognised over the years. So I think that's a very important starting point that we need to flag, first of all. And we have a very ambitious growth strategy as set out in the Going for Growth strategy a couple of years ago. I think the key challenge is that in order to sustain that growth, as Barclay has already mentioned, it's very much about both economic and environmental sustainability. And we very much focused on that in our last session today, where we're looking at some of the major environmental issues facing the sector. I think the other key issue that's important to flag is that we also have a significant challenge, and that was very clearly brought into focus by the recent AHDB report, which looked at productivity growth in the UK, including Northern Ireland, and how that compares with productivity in many of our competing countries. And I'm sure there are one or two economists in the audience who understand what total factor productivity is better than I do, but my understanding is that that is a measure of the outputs for a given set of inputs. So it's really saying how good are we at converting inputs into output. And I think the worrying trend in that is that you can see many of our competitors, particularly the USA, Netherlands, and indeed Germany, are sustaining much higher rates of productivity growth in the agri-food and horticulture sector than we are in the UK. The sort of figures, for example, if we look over the years, Netherlands are sustaining a productivity growth rate of about 3.5% per annum. The USA is achieving 3.2% per annum, whereas the UK is only achieving 0.9% per annum. So there's a significant issue here that we need to face in terms of if we're going to remain competitive in the future, we're going to look at having to make a step change in productivity growth if we're going to keep up with our competitors. So science is all about driving innovation, bringing new knowledge, and in my view, it's absolutely critical if we're going to get back into higher rates of productivity than we currently have. And that's very much in line with AFBI's vision statement, which is about advancing the local and global agri-food sectors through scientific excellence. And as part of that, our strategy, which has been set out in our 4-year corporate plan, which we've just published, or it's about to be published, which very clearly sets out our key targets over the next 4 years, is about investing in our people. Science is all about good people, scientific knowledge, and people who have a really solid career path in their chosen scientific area, and you'll hear from some of those leading scientists today. It's about investing in our facilities, and certainly if you've been to some of our sites recently, and those from the industry are well aware of the need for reinvestment in our research facilities to provide the facilities for those staff to ensure they can produce good science. It's about working closely with farmers, processors and retailers. There can be no disconnect between science and industry. That will ultimately result in fragmentation and the lack of clear messages going both ways. We need clear signals back from the industry as to what the scientific issues are, and we need a clear platform to allow us to communicate how science might contribute to addressing those problems. And we're a small place. We also need to partner both with local organisations, local research organisations, universities, and international organisations, because by partnering we can bring our individual strengths to contribute to many of these very challenging issues. So partnership is very much a way forward for AFBI in the future as well. And finally, all of this is no good if we don't communicate our science. So it's essential we use good communication, clear communication strategies. And today is all about communicating our science. And hopefully at the end of the day, we will have communicated some new knowledge, some new information from AFBI over the course of the next 5 to 6 hours. So that's very much the context. And we very much look forward to sharing some of AFBI science along with cutting-edge international science The format of the conference this year and last year was, let's see what's happening internationally, what's happening at the cutting edge of science, and how are we measuring up locally in terms of the contribution that AFBI is making. So that's very much the context, and delighted to welcome three very important international speakers, Simon, Donna, and also John Gilliland, who's been very much driving the sustainable land management strategy. So that's the easy bit. Now I have to get on to the complex piece, which is about how we're going to handle questions and answers. And we are embracing new technology, or at least new as far as AFBI is concerned. So rather than switching all your phones off or your iPads, please put them on silent mode, but please turn your telephones on or your iPads on. And if you then, either using the Wi-Fi code, which is on the table, or using 3G, 4G, if you have that signal, then I'll just talk you through what we do, because this will provide you with the opportunity to put your questions while the speakers are performing, and then we can move very quickly to deal with those questions in the discussion. And we have a trial opportunity now, and I assure you it's easy. I was able to do it last night, so it must be easy in terms of getting questions in. So the first thing is, you don't need to download anything. You simply go on to either Google or Firefox or Safari, whatever your browser is, either through Wi-Fi or through 3G or 4G. And if you then go on to www.slido.com, it should take you straight to the Slido website. Is everyone following me so far? If not, wave your arm and we'll get someone to sort the issue. And at that stage then you enter the event code, and it doesn't matter whether it's lowercase or uppercase. The event code is Livestock 2030, and that will allow you to access the event here today. And once you are in, you will then see two tabs, which you will see here on the screen. And that will basically prompt you for a question. So you can see Jane is indicating where you type the question. So you then type your question in, and we would encourage you to type in questions now. I'm sure in Northern Ireland we can always think about something to ask, whether it's the weather. We'll refrain from politics. Maybe we could talk about the rugby. That might be... I'm not a horse racing fan, but Barclay will probably put something in about Cheltenham. If you have any tips, Barclay, maybe you'd let us know. But so you can put questions in. Thank you. What time is lunch? That's a very important question. I think that's scheduled for 1 o'clock if all our speakers keep to time. So the second point, so clearly you're able to use the technology. The second point then is that obviously there'll be a series of questions coming through from the audience, but in order to allow us to prioritize the questions, you can then like a question. So what you have to do is move to the like icon so you can scroll down through the questions, and where you see the like icon here, for example, someone likes this question, you simply like the question, and that will mean that's equivalent to a vote, which means that question will move to the top of the list for the chairperson. So it basically means we can get all of the questions in, and we can also identify the most important questions as judged by you, the audience. So I hope, is everyone confident they can handle this technology? Seems to be working well. Okay. So what will actually happen then, this screen will appear to the chairperson, and the first important question is what time is lunch, which we've already answered. We will then scroll down in priority. So it means you all have an opportunity to put in a question and also vote on the most important question. Okay, I think that's pretty well us. We will have a roving mic for those who are not as au fait with technology if we need to resort to, but I'm sure we'll have enough questions using this. So at this stage, I'm pleased to hand back to the chair. Thank you, Colin.